Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Changing Room. Today we are joined by a special guest. He's played for the likes of Northampton, Yeovil, Millwall. He's actually had a stay in the Czech Republic as well for a little bit. Of course, huge success at Millwall, winning promotion to the Championship via the playoffs in 2017. He's played for Scunthorpe for a little bit, and this season he's been playing for Carlisle. Of course, today we are joined by Byron Webster. How are you, mate?
Not bad yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Cheers, mate. Yeah. Keeping active during the lockdown. Yeah. So let's get started. Of course, raised in North Yorkshire, and you progressed through the youth system at York. Yeah. What was the young Byron Webster like?
Probably a bit like he is now, immature, childish,
Yeah.
up for a laugh. Really close with my family still. Got a close group of friends. And yeah, nothing's really changed throughout my life. I don't live in the same village, but a village a couple of miles away now. I'm still out in the sticks. Got two young children now and a wife. So yeah, growing up where I grew up, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, as an academy product at York City, you actually made your debut on the 29th of December 2004 against Burton. I mean, I bet that was a decent little Christmas present, wasn't it?
It was that seems like that's a long time ago. I didn't realise it was that long ago. But yeah, I obviously went through the youth system at York City, and back in them days, it was, they produced a lot of good players. Growing up, it was looking at the likes of Jonathan Greening, who'd gone to Man United, Richard Creswell, who went to Preston, Sheffield United, had a great career, and that was kind of like our avenue, our target to be like them too. And yeah, I made my debut when I was 17. Chris Brass got injured, and I came on, and then from then on I was playing a lot at York.
Yeah, like you said there, you featured in 10 of Billy McEwen's first 14 matches. I mean, when he was in charge of the club during that 2004-2005 season. But then you only actually made two, in the 2 seasons afterwards, you only made 6 substitute appearances for the club. I mean, was that a bit frustrating?
Yeah, it was. Obviously, at that age, at 17, I thought, do you know what? Well, looking back at it now, I'm thinking like this. I must, I've done well. I've got in at 17. I'm just going to keep playing. Billy McEwen came in. I kept on playing, and then the following season, he just didn't play me. I'm not saying we didn't get on, but obviously I'm a young lad, and to be fair, he destroyed football for me. It wasn't enjoyable. Didn't enjoy it one little bit under him. Didn't rate him as a manager. Didn't rate him as a person. So he came to the conclusion that I asked to be released from my contract, which was a hard thing. Like I say, at that young age, I was ready to walk away from the game. It destroyed the fun had gone out of it for me. And I wasn't interested.
Well, why do you think that was? Was it just the man management side of it? Was it the tactics?
I think growing up at York City, there was a lot of similar faces.
Right.
Brassy was the manager when I was in and around the first team to start off with, or player manager. There were a good group of lads, and they looked after you. Then Billy McEwen came in and completely changed it. He just wasn't a nice man. There might be people who say he is. For me, the guy was a clown. He really was a clown. So yeah, luckily our paths haven't crossed since. And I hope they don't, because I don't have a good word to say about him. There's probably him and one other person. Maybe depending on how the interview goes, he might pop up his name. But
okay.
But yeah, he wasn't for me. And like I say, at a young age, when you think you're playing in the team, you think you're not indestructible, but you're confident. He came in and shot it, and I remember sitting down with my dad saying, "Dad, I don't want this anymore. I do not want to play football." And that was, like I say, the case. I went and terminated my contract. I still remember the McGills were in charge, and they were saying to me, "Just stay, just keep it." And like I said, the love of the game had gone. But my dad's always been the one who's, been on my shoulder. He don't tell me what to do, but he is. without me knowing, if that makes sense, probably like all parents. And he didn't let me quit football. I went to Harrogate Town, played a few games there, and then it was the end of the season, so I was on holiday. I might be going a bit further on, but yeah, my dad got a call from an agent asking if I'd like to go abroad, and I took that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you mentioned your dad there. Would you say that family has been a very, important thing for yourself throughout your career?
Yeah. Like I say, I've got two brothers. So growing up, my parents were here, there, and everywhere, taking us to football. All three of us at different age groups, different areas of the country. And then there was obviously me, who turned professional, and my youngest brother, who did a youth team at Scunthorpe. So they were following him all over. My other brother went over to America to do coaching, so they were flying over there. So even from a young age, it's been like that. But growing up now, like I said, I've got my own family. I've been away from my family when I was down in London, and my kids and my wife were up north, and my wife's had to, keep the family together here. So obviously, us players, we are selfish, really. We have to concentrate on football and family life. The bosses at home, the wives, they take care of everything else, and I can't speak highly enough of my missus, so talk to her.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that next move abroad, of course, was to FK Baník Most in the Czech Republic. Yeah, was that an easy decision to move abroad to the Czech Republic?
It was, because, like I said, I'd left York and had zero interest in football, and I went away on holiday. I came back. My dad said, "Look, this opportunity's come. You should go over there." And I went out there with a mindset of, if I'm bothered, I'm not really bothered. If it happens, it happens, and it happened for me, and it kick-started my love again for football. I loved my time out there. We were playing in the top league. We were playing against Sparta Prague, Slavia Prague. We were playing Champions League football then. It was a new thing. I was living on my own. It was not just a learning curve on the pitch, but off the pitch. Growing up, sounds stupid, doing my own washing, cooking for myself, and it's crazy looking back at it. But different language and different people, and that decision to go out there was the best decision in football. In fact, if I hadn't made that decision, I wouldn't be in football now. Nothing more certain than that.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good but important move. Yeah, I mean, just elaborating on the idea of evolving and becoming more independent as you moved abroad. Would you say that's helped shape, I mean, the person that you are today?
Yeah, definitely. Because, like I say, when I first went out there, there wasn't any worry. And if it happens, it happens. It happened, and then you think, right, I'm actually out here. I need to look after myself. I need to think about what I'm going to have for dinner. How am I going to get to training? So, yeah, you're thrown into it, and it's like anyone, I presume, who goes to university or goes abroad or moves out by themselves. It's sink or swim. You've got to realise what you've got to do. But it makes you, sound stupid, but it was only a flight away. If I was ever in trouble, I could fly home, or my family could come out. My wife, my girlfriend at that time, had come out every weekend, if not every other weekend. So, and it was good, because when they came over, they were using it as kind of like a holiday, a weekend break. So we'd go and do things. It wasn't just a case of sitting in the apartment and being bored, really.
I mean, yeah, as a uni student myself, I can definitely relate to the cooking and the washing. Yeah. Yeah. Was there anything about the football club, or maybe just the general sort of football culture in the Czech Republic, that actually surprised you?
Well, going out there, I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know the country or anything about it. I got over there. Prague is a beautiful country. Like I can't even explain how beautiful it is. It has seasons. Sounds stupid. The summers are boiling hot. The winters are absolutely freezing. So we've got drastic seasons. But I was in like a little town, Most, which is about 45 minutes away from Prague. And it's completely different. It's a different world. When I was there, it was kind of like going back in time. That I'm not saying they had TVs, computers, and things like that, but it was just a mindset. I don't think they'd seen many foreigners over there, so we walked there and it was like, oh, he's an Englishman. What's happening here? And yeah, it was an eye opener. And because the town wasn't that big, the football club was a big thing for this town. So you were adored, you were looked after, and yeah, it was good times. But the actual football and the time there, I just remember a few of the games, especially when we played away, were very hostile.
Oh yeah.
The grounds are all, the majority of them are like old-fashioned stadiums. You're walking down a tunnel, the fans are over you. There's like metal cages, and
Gosh.
you don't understand a word they're saying, or you don't to start off with. So you're thinking, Christ, because it is quite like how they speak is quite an aggressive, or it sounds aggressive, even if they're saying hello. But yeah, it was good times.
Yeah, well, what would you say is your most memorable moment? Maybe that might be from a game during, your time at the club.
Scoring against Slavia Prague. I came on and scored against them. Got my first red card over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, last man, little pull back.
Naughty tackle.
I thought I'd only get a yellow card, and he sent me off. That was only after 20 odd minutes that as well. So
oh gosh.
Yeah, but a lot of good time. It's crazy because in our team as well, there was people from all over the country. We had a Kenyan in our team, Kenyan international, a few Brazilians, Argentinians, obviously Czech players, French, and it was good. You learn a lot about different countries. You learn different languages. Yeah, it was just a really good time. Good. From where I came from, York City, where I really enjoyed it, to a numpty manager coming in and hating football, to then loving it again, it was the best thing ever.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And of course, December 2008 rolls around, and you actually went on trial at Motherwell back in Scotland. I mean, it was then Mark McGee, he was manager at the time. Yeah, you actually entered negotiations to sign on loan, but they didn't really come to fruition. I mean, yeah, what's your recollection of that move that fell through?
Yeah, it was when I was out in the Czech, like I say, I loved every minute of it. But even now with training, we don't train long. So you're up at training, you do your training, you finish lunchtime, and because of Most, it was a smaller town. I couldn't exactly jump out, like go to the cinema or things like that. I'd do a bit of shopping, go for a coffee, and then my day's done. It was just boredom was setting in. And I remember speaking to my agent saying, look, if we can get back to England or to the UK, I want to try and do it. Spoke to Most. They weren't very keen on it happening, but they said as long as the figure's okay for everyone, then it's something to look at. Motherwell came up, went and trained there, loved it, because what happens in the Czech Republic, they finish around the middle of November and don't go back until the 5th of January. So you have a long winter break. So it gave me a chance to go to Motherwell, do some training in the winter break, keep myself fit for when I went back, or if I went back to the Czech Republic, and also give Motherwell a chance to see me close up. And like you say, it didn't come to fruition, the deal. They couldn't agree fees. So I ended up having to go back. So yeah, that's the story in the end.
Yeah, I mean, you had a couple more trials, and it was actually Doncaster Rovers who you moved to afterwards. You had a trial with them in the August of 2009. Like you said there, of course, you were keen to move back to England, but what was it about Doncaster that attracted you?
Sean O'Driscoll. Sean O'Driscoll, the manager, and obviously it was closer to home, or is close to home. But Sean O'Driscoll's by far, even though I didn't play a lot of the games under him because of injury, by far the best, probably the best manager I played under. It's unbelievable knowledge of the game. So far ahead of the game at that time. And he produced a Doncaster team that was massively punching above its weight.
Well, what was it about the tactics which really brought the best out of you, do you think?
What I liked of it was training was never ever the same. it was always geared towards who you were playing. For instance, if you're playing against a team that like to get the ball wide and crosses in training, he wouldn't have a goal in the centre. He'd have them wide, so you had to defend wide areas.
Oh,
Something
okay.
so simple like that. He was just his mind. Him and Rich O'Kelly, obviously, who's now assistant manager at Aston Villa, were together, and they just worked so well together. And yeah, he was just so switched on. His analysis of the game, looking after games, the detail, before games, the detail. He had like a lady who came in who, if you ever had problems, like a psychologist kind of person to speak to, which as nowadays is not a regular thing, but it's a big thing. He was just fantastic manager.
Yeah, that is high praise indeed. I mean, during your time at Doncaster, you also made a bit of a loan move to Hereford United in the November of 2010. I mean, yeah, was that always the plan, or did that come out of the blue moving to Hereford?
No, like I say, I enjoyed my time there. I got injured a couple of times. I broke my metatarsal in training, and it's a simple injury once you get it. If you get it operated on, we wanted to let it heal and try and do its natural cause, but it just wasn't doing it, so I had to get it operated on. Came back and then played a game against Sheffield United, and I can mention his name because we're good pals. So it's like Darius Henderson kind of broke my elbow. So yeah, and then after that I was out again for another 3 months. So it was just the fact of I needed to get some games. I needed to get some games to sharpen up. And Hereford was an option to go to at that time.
Did any sort of long-term injury at that time impact you mentally?
No, not really. Like I say, the only thing looking back now would have been the situation at York, the end of York. And looking back, I didn't enjoy football that time, so mentally that was one person came in and affected me. At that time, I wouldn't have thought it was for that reason. I just thought, I just don't want to do it, But injuries now have been quite good. I had a bad time at Doncaster with injuries and at the back end of Millwall, but I have a close knit of family and friends who keep me grounded.
That's good. Yeah.
Keep me positive. And there's things like I spoke about the Kenyan who played in the Czech Republic. I actually showed my kids the DVD the other day of how he lives and what his life's like. Little things like that bring it home to you. You know what? A little injury, it's minus compared to what's happening on in the world. So yeah, I think I'd like to think now I'm quite mentally strong.
Yeah, you made a few more appearances for Doncaster and on loan for Hereford as well before eventually moving to Northampton on loan. And of course, you joined the club permanently. Before we get on to that move, was there any more sort of highlights or stories you'd like to share from your time at Doncaster?
Yeah, like I say, it was a great group of lads, great manager. In fact, it's one of the clubs where I first think, that's when even though my journey started at York and then Bannock Moss, where I started football in England. And yeah, I remember the game against Sheffield United, and the one that stands out is when we played Tottenham in the cup. I mean, we got our asses felt that day, but yeah, it was a good game. Playing against Crouch, Huddleston was in there, Aaron Lennon, Pavlyuchenko, and just thinking, wow, I'm on the same pitch as these guys. This is too bad. So yeah, that's the main one that probably stands out.
Did you interact much with any of those names? Were they very accommodating?
Nah, there's none of that. When you're I mean, like after a game, they might come up and then can I have your shirt cheekily?
Yeah.
No, when we played Tottenham, none of that. I was just thinking to Crouch, well, I thought I would be you're humongous, mate. Yeah, that was it, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can see in the background there your Man United shirt. Did you get a shirt from that game?
I didn't know, not that game. I'm a Man United shirt. I'm good friends with Lewis Young, who obviously is Ashley Young's brother. So
Okay.
when he was there, he got me the shirt, and then my wife got it framed for me for a birthday present.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to, obviously, I just mentioned there your move to Northampton under Gary Johnson at the time. Yeah, I mean, what was that first season like for yourself?
Another manager who is completely different to, say, Sean O'Driscoll. Sean's a quiet man, lots of thinking. Gary he's a motivator, demands, probably a bit old school. But I think the reason I get on, or most of the managers I've got on with, is because he's honest. Honesty is a main thing for me in football,
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad. The ones who aren't honest, who are sly, they just don't wash for me. I need to feel trust. Like I say, if you don't fancy me as a player, it's not a problem. Just tell me. If you want me to run through a brick wall, tell me. And Gary Johnson was one of them. And that's why, obviously, I signed for him twice at Northampton and at Yeovil. A guy I still speak to now, and a guy you look at his CV, and he's been successful at more or less every single club he's been at, to the present day with Torquay. So yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, I mean, in that sort of first periods of time at Northampton, you actually were sort of nearer the bottom end of the league. I mean, you just about avoided relegation. I mean, 2 wins on the bounce at the end of that season to avoid relegation. That must have been a huge relief.
Yeah, it was. If I'm honest, I don't really remember much of it. Sorry, I've got my little boy. Come and say
Okay, that's all right.
Dying to.
Hello.
Right, Vamos. See you later. Go on. See you later. I'm a little girl. Sorry about that. I've been down. I've done a few.
That's all right. Hello.
Ow. Yeah, I don't really remember much of the. A lot of the clubs actually that I've been at, that the relegations or whatever, or games and such. I'm kind of one of them players that I'm in the zone in any match, and then afterwards I more or less remember the bad things and then the good things. But yeah, I just remember, yeah, there were it weren't the greatest time for Gary at that time at Northampton. But I think that happens in football sometimes. Like certain clubs suit certain people, and that time it didn't work out for Gary. But like I say, after that he was successful again. So.
Yeah. I mean, it was Adi Brufroyd that came in at Northampton afterwards. I mean, he's of course England's under-21s manager. When you were at Northampton and you worked with Adi, could you see the qualities within him which would lend itself to being obviously a manager of an England under-21 side, nurturing that talent?
No.
No?
Oh, he's the other one who I didn't see eye to eye with. In fact, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen in football that he's with England under-21s.
Oh yeah.
And I think it shows with, was it the last championship they went to? And
yeah, I remember they didn't do too well, did they?
And they've got a hell of a team. For me, my time with him, didn't enjoy it.
No.
I
mean, yeah, your stay at Northampton did come to an end in July 2012. Yeah, I mean that says it all. Yeah. Looking back at your time overall at the club, yeah, what are your overall thoughts of Northampton?
Great place and a cracking little club. The people who were there at the time, at every club I've been to, there's a core of people who have been at the club for a long time, who support the club more or less. And they had the 2 kit men, Pat and Adam, Adam's still there, still rings me monthly, every time, and we'll have a little chat. Great guy. The physio, I think, who's left, Stuart Barker, who was there, and the club secretary, I don't know if he's still there, but they were the heart and soul of the club. And then a manager comes in and tries to change it. And I mean, to be fair to Eddie, the following year, I think they got to the playoffs and lost. And I remember being there because we were with Yeovil then.
Mm.
They were playing the day before, and I'm actually thinking, I hope you lose, pal. And he did lose, and then the following year got sacked. And then somehow he got the England 21's job, which is crackers. But that's football.
Yeah, I mean, Northampton, of course, have literally just been promoted from the playoffs themselves this season. When you see that, and you still see that, those core figures at the club, enjoying success. I mean, that must be great to see.
It is, like I say, Adam, top lad. Like, you speak to anyone who's been to Northampton as a player, and they will know Adam.
Yeah,
he is a legend of a guy, and do anything for you. Like I said, without fail, he will ring me Christmas Eve.
all right.
Without fail, wishing me a Merry Christmas. We have a little chat. Like I said, probably once a month we'll have a good chat. But not only Northampton are the people like that, but obviously with footballers, they move around, and it's strange at this present moment in time in the team. I know a lot of the lads, and like I say, I played against them this year, and they're a great team, cracking team, and yeah, they deserve it because they didn't have some Exeter.
Yeah, after joining Yeovil, of course, you had a great first season for yourself, winning promotion via the playoffs to the Championship. I mean, before we get on to that, did you feel right from the outset with that group of players which you joined that you could go on and achieve great things that season?
It was crazy, because looking back, we were favourites to go down.
Okay.
And Gary had put a team together. Looking back at it now, so there's myself still playing, Joe Edwards, who won promotion with Plymouth this year, Luke Ayling at Leeds United, who's going to get promoted, Marit Steck, who's just left Luton Town, Jamie McAllister, who'd had an unbelievable career and now at Bristol City as the assistant manager, Sam Foley in St Mirren, Paddy Madden up top, who's at Fleetwood, and James Hayter. Obviously, there's a few other players, but them players now are still in the game and are still an unbelievable career. So we were younger lads then, and I remember we won our first 5 games, I think, and then lost 5 on the bounce. And Gary Johnson, like I say, he was a straight talker, and he came in and said, "Listen, boys, pull your finger out." And we had a great group of lads. We had a great time there. Good friends. That's what we were. Really good friends. And we had James Ayter, who was seasoned pro, savvy, knew what he was doing, clever. I played with him at Doncaster, and then they brought Paddy in, who just everything he touched, he scored like a sword. We were keeping clean sheets and recipes for success. So we kept it out at the back, and Paddy and Hates would score up top.
Yeah, you alluded to it there a little bit, but was there a particular memory of maybe a turning point during that season where you felt that, looking back, you really go on and achieve success?
Not really. I just remember when we got to the playoffs, we obviously got Sheffield United, and before the first leg at their place, we fancied it. I can't remember the results against them in the league. I want to say we beat them both times, or we didn't lose to them.
Right.
And I remember we went to Bramall Lane, lost 1-0, but could easily have won that game. Came back to our ground, and the place was rocking. I mean, it's one of the biggest, well, it probably is one of the biggest moments that season in Yeovil's career, history, sorry. And I can't remember who scored the first one, but I remember Ed Upson scoring the header, the second one. Still remember it.
Yeah.
One of the best goals ever. Rose like a salmon, nodded it in, ran around the back of the goal, celebrating, and yeah. So that's it's obviously not a turning point, but that's the game that stands out where we thought, you know what, get Sheffield United. We knew we were going to beat them, and also that season we played Brentford twice and beaten them twice. So we were happy or hoping they were going to get to the final, and it kind of went that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, coming from a losing position in that first leg to eventually going on to win the tie, I mean, after that second tie was over, did you feel like this is it? We are going to go and win promotion. We're going to go to Wembley and we're going to do the job.
We did, but it was a crazy. I think because we were a young, inexperienced team, like good friends, we celebrated that day like we'd won. And looking back now, it could have been a big slap in the face. That if we'd have gone to Wembley and lost, it'd have been a hell of a sucker punch. Whereas looking back now, obviously the success I had at Millwall, I didn't celebrate nowhere near as much as winning the semi-final. Winning the semi-final, you've done nothing. You just got the nice trip out to Wembley.
Yeah.
But like I say, we fancied ourselves against Brentford. Everyone was against us. It was a kind of another thing. We had nothing to lose. Everyone thought Brentford were going to beat us. Everyone thought Sheffield United were going to beat us. Why are Yeovil, little old Yeovil? Why are they in the playoffs? And we proved everyone wrong.
Would you say you thrive under that, being the underdog?
As a player, no, not really. No, I've just been one of them. Like I say, it's a game of football. I don't get emotionally attached to it. Really, I'm just in a zone where, like I said, I haven't watched the final back. I mean, there's been snippets when it's been on TV afterwards, and I've seen it, but I haven't watched the game back. And like I say, it's one of them that I more or less, throughout every game, I'll remember the mistakes I've made than the good things I've done in the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, winning promotion to the Championship, beating Brentford 2-1. Yeah, just looking at that specifically. Yeah, what's your recollection of that day? Talking about the build-up, then obviously during the game.
The manager was good. He made it so we went to Wembley the day before.
Okay.
So he didn't want us going to Wembley, getting our phones out, everyone like this, we're at Wembley, taking selfies, all that lot. He said, listen, boys, we'll go to Wembley the day before. You can get all your photos done. See where you're going to be sitting in the changing room. When it comes to the match day, that's all I want to see. If I see anyone with their phones out, your phone will be launched out of Wembley as well with you. So it was kind of them like, fair enough. So, we actually, I'm trying to think if this were Yeovil or no. I think we trained at QPR. Might be getting it. So we trained a couple of days. No, we did, yeah. Sorry. We trained at QPR. So say the game was on a Saturday, we went down on a Wednesday to London. We trained at QPR. Then Terry Skiverton knows John Terry's brother, Paul Terry. So we trained at Chelsea for a day or two. And then the game was around. So we've kind of like had our own little tour. We were down in London. We were all together. We moved around from a couple of hotels, and we were in the hotel for the Wembley final. And like I say, I want to say we were lads on tour, but we were good friends. We'd been together, obviously, then for a few days, and we were just going to play football and hopefully win. So that's all I really remember.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you did the job and you won promotion. I mean, are there any stories that you can share on the podcast about the celebrations?
No, to be fair, the semi-final was the best one. Where, like I said, looking back, it's mental. Because if we'd have lost in the final, it'd been thingy. But we went back to Yeovil, had a lock-in in a pub, and there was just, like I said, us, our families, and it was just a good laugh. I said the worst thing about winning the playoffs is you can't book anything or sort anything in case you lose.
Right.
So, like we won the final, and then it was like, all right, then we haven't booked anything. We can't stay in London because the bus is going back to Yeovil. So we just ended up going out in Yeovil. But in fact, it can't have been a weekend because it weren't even busy. It might have been like a Monday or something like that. So there weren't even many bars to go in, and I think we just ended up in a karaoke bar, just making cracks of ourselves. So
fair enough.
Yeah, that's the most the celebrations got.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the season followed in the Championship with Yeovil. Things didn't really quite go to plan. You did end up getting relegated. I mean, yeah, where would you you pinpoint as where things didn't really go wrong within the team that season?
We were just we were little fish in a big pond. You know, our average gate was probably 4,000-5,000 compared to Leeds where there's 35,000. So the club never wanted to cripple themselves financially. They didn't want to go and spend money they didn't have, which you can't fault them. And the good thing I remember is that throughout every game, we never ever or very rarely got spanked. We were always there or thereabouts. And even when we got relegated, it wasn't like we were relegated at Christmas. It was late on. And like we give ourselves every chance. The gaffer brought in more players who were quality players. And it was a great journey for Yeovil. And I think we did ourselves and the club proud.
In 2014 rolls around and you moved to Millwall, and of course, really great stay for yourself at the club, made over 100 appearances. But to start off with, how did that move to Millwall come about?
So yeah, obviously, I'd had success at Yeovil, loved my time there, but I just felt I could stay in the Championship and kick on. There was a few clubs interested, a few talks. I met Ian Holloway a couple of times, and I remember I was going down, probably the third time, I was going down to Bournemouth to James Hayter's wedding, and on the way, obviously, me and my wife were driving down, and we stopped off in London to meet Ian Holloway again. And I was talking to Ian Holloway, and my wife had been. So Ian Holloway and his wife, they're always literally always together. Ian Holloway takes his wife to meetings. You know, when we went abroad, she'd be there everywhere. And she was obviously at the meeting with us. So my wife's with Ian Holloway's wife. I'm with Ian Holloway. We're both having a meeting. Afterwards, we get in a car, and my wife goes, "You have to sign." I was like, "All right."
Very well, that's that then.
They're made. So yes, I'm not sure what Ian Holloway's wife said, but whatever it was
did the trick. Yeah,
that's my wife liked to hear. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you worked with Ian Holloway for a little while you're at Millwall. I mean, great character. Yeah. What is he like to work with?
He's another one who, even though I didn't play as much as I wanted to under Ian Holloway, I can't say a bad word against him. I mean, like the Millwall fans didn't really take to him, but me as a person, there's not a bad thing I can say about him. He was a lot like Sean O'Driscoll, where he was super intelligent about the tactics of football, his knowledge of football, but what you see isn't an act. He is 100-mile-an-hour, intense. Like, I don't want to say out of control because he's in control of his actions, but he's just so passionate. And yeah, that is him. I'm not saying I thought he was acting, but when you see him on the TV and he's vocal and whatever he's doing, that is him down to a T.
Yeah. I mean, you had a little loan spell back at Yeovil as well in 2015. What was the thinking behind that at the time?
It was yet again the same, where I've obviously gone from Yeovil, where I thought I was doing well. Got my move to Millwall, thought I'd be kicking on again, and I just wasn't getting the game time. So it was one of them that, you know, Ian Holloway, we sat down, he said, "Listen, you're still in my plans. I understand your frustration." And yes, it wasn't an argument or anything other than trying to get some games.
Yeah, I mean, Ian Holloway left the club in March 2015, and Neil Harris came in as caretaker manager. Now, of course, he didn't manage to guide the club away from relegation at that first season where he was manager, but of course, everybody knows the success he's gone on to have as a manager. During that opening sort of, first period under Neil, how quickly, from your perspective, could you see that he adapted to being a manager?
Yeah, obviously he'd gone in the back end of the season as caretaker. I think it was more or less an impossible challenge to keep the club up. But I remember getting a call off him in the summer saying to me, look, Byron, you're not going anywhere, you're coming back, you're in my plans. Went back, and like at every successful club, there's always a good team. He'd got himself David Livermore there. He'd brought in his own sports scientists and people behind the scenes that, you know, fans and that probably don't appreciate as much. And he got the actual club rocking. He's a club legend. Everyone loves him at Millwall. So really, he was already ahead of Joe Bloggs coming in as manager. He'd already, got the fan behind him. And he just proves that, obviously, we weren't successful the first year, losing to Barnsley in the final, but it weren't long until we got his success.
You said it wasn't long before you had success under him. 2017, it was the playoff final for yourself. I mean, I remember that so well. You beat Bradford 1-0. Yeah, what was your recollection of that day?
Now, it was unreal. Yet again, like the Yeovil thing, when you think about it, you look back and you think of how you're going to plan it. Yeovil, yeah, fancy Sheffield United, we'll beat them. I hope we get Brentford. Went to plan. And it was the same with Millwall. Right, we'll take Scunny, we'll do them over 2 legs. And Bradford, we're just not going to, as long as we stay solid, they'll have a lot of the ball and we'll score. And the manager, especially for the Bradford game, was so vocal, and he knew how the game plan was going to go. Stay disciplined, lads, and we'll get our chance and we'll nick it. And it worked a dream, and it's exactly how it goes. I don't know if it's one of them that you, looking back, yeah, I definitely thought that and you didn't really, but I'm sure, I'm 99% sure that's what we were all thinking. And yeah, it was both times, Yeovil and Millwall, like it happened.
Would you say that was Neil Harris's best qualities as a manager? You know, that clarity through his tactics and also his man management.
Neil Harris was like, looking back at managers for me, it was a bit like, it's a mixture between Gary Johnson and Sean O'Driscoll.
Okay.
In the fact that he was a straight talker. There were no honesty again. You know where you stood with him, and I won't say he was as tactically astute as Sean O'Driscoll, because, like I say, Sean O'Driscoll for me was ahead of the game. But what he knew was, he knew how he wanted us to play, and he knew how to get against every other opponent. So we knew down to the T how we were playing, and it didn't matter who we played against. This is how we're going to play. And like I said, the work the gaffer, I still call him the gaffer now, Neil Harris. The gaffer does, the way he does his work, his homework on the opponents, is up there with the best I've worked with. There was no stone left unturned. He had Dan McClune, the analysis guy at Millwall, who's still there. We just knew everything about every team, players, who were the danger men, and yeah. So I'd say the way he managed us, because especially as well, we had a lot of Northerners in the team. The way he looked after us boys, he treated us like men. You know, if we did good for him, he'd be good for us. An extra day off here, there, but also how he drilled in what he wanted from us, what he wanted his Millwall team to be like, and his homework on the opponents. They're his 3 main attributes.
Yeah, after getting promoted to the Championship, of course, Millwall have enjoyed Championship football since. I mean, yeah, how easy was it to adapt to the higher league? How much of a jump was it?
It's a jump. I'd say more in the final third areas, where, say for instance, you're playing against a League One striker, it might take him he might score 1 out of 3 chances. Whereas in the Championship, you give him that chance, they're more or less going to get 1 out of 1 or 2 out of 1. I'd say that's the main difference. But it sounds crazy. Millwall have the home advantage. I think it's a massive thing for them, that whoever they are, whoever the opponents are coming there, that no one really wants to be at Millwall. They don't want to play Millwall at all. And yeah, and like I said, Neil Harris was able to bring a few bodies in who brought more class, more talent into the team, and they've done so well since.
Would you say you enjoy that as a defender more than most? Actually having that home advantage and unsettling your opponents.
Yeah, definitely. There's a number of times that you'll see defenders turn around and they're shouting and whatever else. But for me, the best defenders, you look at them and they've just stopped a shot and they get up and they're smiling. And then another one comes and they clear it and they're smiling again. And it's our job, and there's nothing more better than whatever job you're in, stopping someone because of your talent, whether that's sticking your head in the way, clearing it, whatever it is. Seeing someone else's frustration because you've done something well. That's what made me happy. So when we had our settled back four and we knew who we were playing with, we enjoyed it. We had a laugh. There'd be a number of times, say for instance, Marl on the right back and make a tackle. He'd look back at me. I'd go, "Well done, lad," and we'd just have a little moment, a little smile, and then the next attack would come. And yeah, I think you have to enjoy them times.
Is that how you describe yourself as a defender? Someone who will put their body on the line, use their talent, but have a laugh at the same time.
Yeah, in a nutshell, I think you have to, because, like I said, earlier on, where it's going to sound crazy, when I was at York, it was football, football. That was everything for me. I didn't have a family at that time. I was young. It was football. I wanted to be a footballer. Then when my heart got broke from football. I didn't enjoy it. It opens your eyes up to realise, you know what, football is a job. And it sounds stupid that I love every single minute of me being a footballer, but it is a job. And there's some days when you're fed up with it, and like any job, and there's some days when you're loving it. And I just think that if you let every little thing affect you, both positive and negative, it's going to be like a roller coaster. You're going to be up and down. It's going to be mental. Steve Morrison, who I'm close with, says just stay level, and everything will be fine. So I don't get too carried away, and I don't get too down. Like I said, I've got a good family around me. When I'm at work, I'm at work. When I get home, I've got my kids who are, like you said, coming in and causing havoc for me. So I switched off from football. I'm at home. The kids, my wife's not interested in it, so we'll be watching Flaming Grand Designs or Coronation Street or something, and I think that's good for me, that I'm able to switch off from football. But yeah, I'm a player who loves to play. Try and always play with a smile on my face. Don't get me wrong, I'm grumpy as well, but try to play with a smile on my face. Enjoy the nasty side of the game, but also enjoy, the odd Cruyff turn and bring it down on the chest and playing. So yeah.
Yeah, you played in the Championship with Millwall until you left the club in January 2019. Pardon. Was there any other stories you'd like to give, or any specific highlights of your time at Millwall that you'd like to share?
Millwall is up there. It's probably the best time I've had in football at Millwall. There's plenty. We had such a good cup run where we beat Leicester, Watford, Bournemouth.
Yes, I remember.
Then played Tottenham again, and I was thinking about it. Not had a good time against Tottenham, but lost to Tottenham again. We were there. I think it was the last FA Cup to be played at the old White Hart Lane. So when we played there, like half the stands were all knocked down, but unbelievable experience. The promotion, playing in the Championship with them, but it was another group of lads that you can call friends. Still talk to a hell of a lot of them. I went on like at Northampton and at Yeovil. Every club has the heart of the club, and Millwall was no different. In fact, Millwall was probably, they had more people there who were Millwall through and through. The ladies in the office, Karen, Kate, Jess, still speak to them. The gaffer, obviously I know he's at Cardiff now, but the lads, yeah, it was just a great time.
You mentioned the cup runs there. I mean, how much did you enjoy, having that feeling of being giant killers?
It was fantastic. It's one of them where you're watching the draw, you're either thinking, right, we'll have Man United at Old Trafford or Arsenal at the
Yeah.
Emirates. We'll take anyone at the Den. And that's what it was. Anyone at the Den. And when I go back, like when I said about when people come to the Den and they're already not defeated, but they're like skeptical. Oh Christ, we're at the Den, hostile place. We're gonna have fans on us for 90 minutes. And you saw that. We saw that when Watford came there. It weren't until they brought Troy Deeney on that you saw their mentality change. He must have given them a rocket. Come on, what we're doing here.
Mm.
Leicester were the champions at that time. We beat them. Bournemouth, a nice footballing team, and even to this day, Millwall. If you're trying to play proper football, play out from the back at the Den, Millwall are going to love that because they're going to let you try and play and they're going to press the hell out of you and they're going to nick the ball and score. And that's what we did. And we were good at defending at that time. So we fancied ourselves. And like I say, we came unstuck at White Hart Lane, Tottenham. Yeah, there was a lot of good times.
Yeah, like you said, great times at Millwall. And when you left Millwall, you joined Scunthorpe. Again, and that's a northern team. Did that play a part in your move to Scunthorpe?
Yeah, I had the misfortune of doing my ACL. So I was out for a while, came back, played a few games for Millwall, but then I spoke to the manager and I said, look, like, if I'm not going to get a fair crack of being in the team, then I'd like to try and move on. And like I said, the gaffer was fantastic. We had a great relationship. He was honest, I was honest, and he said to me, look, Byron, you're not going to play as much as you want. If you can get a move away, then fantastic. If not, then you're more than welcome to stay. You never know what can happen in football. And I was able to get to Scunthorpe, which was closer to home for me. So yes, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, what's been your highlight at Scunthorpe? Obviously, you haven't spent too long at the club, but of course, what do you make of that period?
Great club. A lot of good players there, but obviously the circumstances weren't the greatest. And looking back, it weren't a fantastic time for the club, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And another time where I played under a couple of managers, which was different for me because I'd had the same manager for a long time. But yeah, a time I enjoyed, even though the club wasn't as successful as we wanted to.
And nowadays, of course, you've been playing for Carlisle. I mean, yeah, what's that experience been like?
Another time where I enjoyed it. It was different to previous clubs. It's a massive club. Crazy how big. You don't realise how big it is. A club that should kick on and should be higher up in League One, but obviously isn't. But I enjoyed my time there. Another great set of lads. But yeah, so obviously the season ended early because of the pandemic we were in, which is a bit of a shame because the new manager came in and results started to pick up a bit. But yeah, we spoke over the last few, well, probably about a month ago. A new contract was put in front of me, but I just think at this present moment in time in my career, it's not the right option for me. So I've rejected that contract offer.
Yeah, I mean, compared to your expectations with Carlisle at the beginning of the season, how do you think he performed?
For Carlisle, when he was there?
When you were at Carlisle, yeah.
Yeah, so it was. I remember Steve Presley was the manager I signed for. Another fantastic manager. His style of play, how he wanted to play, his ideas, his knowledge of the game, but it just didn't work out for him. It didn't work out for I don't even know why, but obviously a few reasons. My time there personally, I'd gone there. I don't want to say name signing, but I've got a bit of a reputation behind me.
Yeah.
And I did make a couple of mistakes, which I do well for the game, make a mistake, and that's all that anyone would remember. Fair enough, that's football. But yeah, but then like you come round, and I enjoyed my time there, and you know, like I say, football's a crazy game where it can kick you, and then you can be lifted up again. So yeah, I enjoyed my time there. I thought I did well, but a couple of mistakes I made were how do I say it? Weren't that they were stupid mistakes that I shouldn't have been making. So yeah, it was one of those things.
And like you said a minute ago, of course, the season has ended early because of coronavirus. How was lockdown the lockdown period been for yourself?
Crazy time. It's I remember we were meant to play Grimsby on a Saturday and it got called off. And then it was like, whoa, is it going to be 1, 2 games, 3 games? And then the more and more, it's like, well, the season's done. I haven't done any, like, I think it was around the middle of March. And then you're thinking, right then, well, it's crazy because when you finish a season, you know, season finishes May time. Right, I'll have a couple of weeks off, then I'll get myself fit. We'll be back in the end of June. Like, no one knows when we're going back. So trying to stay fit is, it's not hard to try and stay fit, but you usually try and do it so you hit a peak, and then when you go into training, you're okay.
Oh yeah.
We're all plodding along, trying to not get injured and get as fit as we can. But it's just a strange time for everyone. Fortunately, where I live, that I'm out in the sticks, I don't really see many people anyway. So looking out, nothing's changed in my life. You know, the difference is my children are at home all the time, and
yeah,
my wife's got the patience to do all this homeschooling because it's a crazy time. But yeah, the first time the other day, it was my wife's birthday, and we went into Leeds for some food, and we went, like I said, I haven't seen much of the world as such. Went into Leeds, and in the restaurant, you're having to look into the screen, which is taking temperature. Walking around the shops, people are wearing masks. It's just it's a crazy, scary time at the minute. So hopefully, you know, something will sort itself out, and life will go back to some kind of normality.
Yeah, of course. And looking further forward into the future, one day when you do decide to hang up your boots, where would you like your career to take you? I mean, coaching or elsewhere?
No, yeah, I think I'm doing my badges at the minute. So I think I want to go into coaching management. Well, no, I know I want to.
Yeah.
It's just doing the badges, which is the hard thing. It's sounds crazy. I don't want to say I'm a player, so players and managers are completely different. I have an insight in football, and going back to school, learning how to be a coach as such is a strange thing for me, because I left school, went straight into football. I'm picking up a pencil, writing things down for the first time in years, listening to someone telling me things. I'm thinking, well, I know this, but I know this as a player, not as a manager. So yeah, it's something I'm interested in, and something I think I will fall into.
Yeah, I mean, you've had a great career. That is wonderful stories. Just to round things off, with every guest we have on, we ask them to put together a six-a-side of the best players that they've been lucky enough to play with on their team. Of course, for yourself, you know, some great teammates you've had over the years. But to start with, you know, have a think about what players you'd like to include, but what formation would you like to play?
Six-a-side.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got the keeper. So keeper, I'll go for. Well, that's a good keeper, you know. I'll go for David Stockdale.
Okay.
I was with him at York, but obviously had a great career. Brighton, got promoted with them. Birmingham, and then obviously Wickham.
Yeah.
We'll have to go 2 defenders. I'll have to put myself in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played with the likes of Shane Duffy at York, At Yeovil, Dan Byrne, but I'll have to go with my pal Mark Beavers. Me and Beavs.
Yeah.
So that's 3.
What was it about Beavers which stands out, as a player in his best quality, do you think?
He's just a fantastic footballer who is a head on a stick at 1 minute, nutting everything, but also got the composure where he can bring it down and play football. So he's a bit of everything, and he's just my best mate in football. He's a great guy. So yeah, I'm more or less going for friends in this team. I'll go for Sean Williams in midfield.
Okay.
Genius on the ball. Wizard, be fantastic in five-a-side. In fact, when you ever are on five-a-side with him, you'd never lose.
Really?
So yeah, so that's the keeper, 2 defenders, Willow, so two up top. Steve Morrison again, because he's my best buddy as well.
Yeah.
And I'll go for strikers have we had. Paddy's done well. Lee Gregory.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go Greg's as well.
Steve Morrison and Lee Gregory, I mean, what are they like as players from your perspective?
Morrow is one who does, I want to say, the nasty side of the job. So he'd be one who'll be annoying the defenders, flicking it on, not worried about scoring as long as he's done his job for the team. And Greg's is just an out-and-out striker who wants to score. So their relationship were fantastic because Morrow, I want to say Greg's was a selfish striker who had to score. Morrow was one that he didn't care if he scored as long as he had a good scrap with a centre half. Came out on top there and the team won. And like I said, when we had them 2 up top, there weren't many teams that were going to beat us.
Yeah, all in a day's work. Yeah, lovely stuff. Yeah, great. That rounds off the podcast very nicely. Been really enjoying speaking to you, Byron. But you've had, great career, great teammates as we've seen just then. For all those watching, don't forget, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those ways that you can listen to the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to those, like those as well. The social medias, of course, Twitters, Facebooks, Instagrams. Make sure you're all followed up to them so you keep up to date with the podcast. And thank you all for watching. You've been watching Inside the Changing Room.